An entrepreneur has to be able to, adapt on the fly. See, I often use this example. If you have to put a saddle on a stationary horse, it's not very difficult, right? You put the saddle on the back and you strap it to the horse. But try strapping on a saddle to a horse that is running. Now, when you're going from being an employee to being an entrepreneur, this is a very good analogy to understand. Because as an entrepreneur, you're going to have to learn how to put a saddle on the back of a running horse.
Your career is like a living, breathing organism, and building great careers requires nurturing them with strategic guidance. Hi, my name is Sawan Kapoor, and I'm India's leading career coach, also known as the Career Guy. Welcome to the Career Headquarters. Most comprehensive career podcast on the internet, where I will bring you groundbreaking insights on everything career related. Whether you're seeking a career abroad or wanting to switch industries, whether you are entry level or a mid-career professional or a senior leader, I have seen it all. As an award-winning CEO of one of the largest and most profitable beverage alcohol companies, my career spanned 3 continents, multiple industries, and provided me with an accelerated roadmap to the very top. So if you want to build an exceptional career and 3x your paycheck, this podcast is for you.
Welcome to another episode of Career Headquarters, the most comprehensive career podcast. Hi Sawan, it's been a while.
It has been. It's been a little bit.
Yeah,
how are you? I'm good.
I'm good as well, and I'm excited for today.
What are we talking about?
So today we're talking about how working professionals can transition to entrepreneurship.
Oh, nice.
Something that a lot of them are interested in.
Yes.
Very happening topic.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so what does a working professional need to consider if they want to move from employment to entrepreneurship?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say I think you need to have a deep sense of yourself. You really have to know yourself. See, a lot of people are very excited about starting new things than they are about finishing things. And when you're starting something new and something exciting, it's a wonderful time. So you fail to ignore the realities or the negatives or the downsides of what that same thing can demand of you at a later point in time. And because people are so excited about starting something new, they fail to look at that. So you have to know yourself at a deep level. And in your excitement when you're starting things, if you keep telling yourself that you are committed, but you know somewhere inside that you fizzle out, then entrepreneurship is not for you. So that is something, because entrepreneurship is such an appealing topic and it's such a wonderful premise to have one's own business. Not everybody will make a great entrepreneur. That said, I'm not trying to discourage anyone here. A great entrepreneur can come from anywhere. So I think having that self-awareness is very, very important. Have you solved problems and complexity before? And not simple small problems. Have you solved problems that required you to demonstrate a tremendous amount of consistency? Showing up every single day. Even in jobs, when we go and tell an employer, as we are getting hired in our first job, we tell them that, we have this college degree. The college degree, the biggest thing that it says to an employer is that you showed up every day for 3 or 4 years consistently to do what was expected of you. And therefore, if they give you an opportunity, you're not going to mess it up, right? You're going to show up there day after day. That's what is really being marketed with you showing a college degree to an employer in getting your first job. That consistency is going to be very important because then you are responsible for everything. Results, processes, systems, morale, staffing, budgeting, controlling, problem solving, building a vision. You're going to be responsible for everything. Okay. So how well do you take feedback? Because feedback is really hard to take, especially if it is criticism. And that is the number one tool that an entrepreneur has. You have to be very comfortable with taking feedback. You have to be very comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that is what feedback does. The market is the king. The customer is the king, right? And if they don't like your offering, your product or your service, they are verbal about it. We are living in a world where, it's very democratic. Everybody has a voice. So you really need to be comfortable with being able to take what the market tells you and then change course accordingly. And people who have an unhealthy ego or a fragile ego, they are not comfortable with taking feedback. They want to be right. They want to prove that they were the ones who had the best idea or the best thought, and there's nothing flawed in how they are going about it. But people who have a healthy ego, they are coming from a place of solidity in their personality, in their foundation. And those people are much better at taking that constructive criticism and then course correcting. And it's a very core part of, your leadership skills. So this is a basic foundation in what you require to consider entrepreneurship. And I would say, think back in your career with regard to what has your ability to execute been like. Okay. Do you move forward enthusiastically despite the headwind, despite the challenges, the obstacles, the rejections, the delays, the surprises, the unforeseen situations? Because see, winning in entrepreneurship is not done by trying to hit the market back. If the market hits you or gives you an opportunity, right, either it accepts what you have or it doesn't accept whatever product or service that you're trying to take to the market. The idea is to learn how to get hit and still not stop. Keep course correcting till you get that right. So you don't try to hit the market back. You learn how to get hit and still keep moving forward without losing your enthusiasm. So that is a very important quality. An entrepreneur has to be able to, adapt on the fly. See, I often use this example. If you have to put a saddle on a stationary horse, it's not very difficult, right? You put the saddle on the back and you strap it to the horse. But try strapping on a saddle to a horse that is running. Now, when you're going from being an employee to being an entrepreneur, this is a very good analogy to understand. Because as an entrepreneur, you're going to have to learn how to put a saddle on the back of a running horse. So these are some things that I would say that, have to be a very ingrained part of your mindset before you take that leap into entrepreneurship. The other thing is you have to, when it comes to your execution abilities, don't give yourself the benefit of the doubt that you're great at execution. Because your past performance is the best indicator of your future performance, right? That's why, people look at a resume, to understand what is the very best they can expect from you. Don't get caught up in the hype of excitement, right? And extend that benefit to, no, I'll get it done. And then ask yourself, what problem are you solving? Based on the problem that you're solving, that will determine the strength of your value proposition, of your idea. And it has to be a solid business model. So if you don't understand how business models work, then you're already at a disadvantage, because a business model is how do you create value for a particular tribe, a particular set of consumers at a particular price, and how do you capture profit for yourself, and how do you align the resources, the processes, and the personnel to be able to deliver that value to a customer or a client. So you have to have a very solid business model. The idea is that you should be able to do that in the best possible way in the market. So what that means is, can you do it cheaper than others? Can you do it quicker than others? Can you do it better or more reliably? Can you increase the efficiency, or how difficult it is to adopt for a potential customer or consumer, than how it is being solved today. Okay, so see, entrepreneurship is not always about disruption and innovation. Take something that is being done and do it better. That is a compelling value proposition.
Improvise.
Correct, absolutely. Be able to offer it in a manner that makes the life of a potential client easier. It's not always about disruption and unicorns and all of that. And I like to think of it from a perspective of, let's say that your customer has some needs, and your competitor can fulfill your customer's needs, but you can also fulfill your customer's needs. Now, if both you and your competitor can fulfill the customer's needs, then it becomes a price war, right? Then whoever can solve the need of the customer better is the one who will get the business, right? But if you look at this Venn diagram of 3 circles, then there is a spot on this Venn diagram where your capabilities are able to solve your customer's needs in a manner where the circle of your competitor does not even touch how you are able to solve those needs. Now, that is a strategic sweet spot. And that is part of, designing your business model. So you should know how to be able to play in that sweet spot where you can solve your customers' needs in a way where your competition cannot even touch you. That becomes your USP. That becomes the strategic sweet spot. So these are some things to, have in mind. I think another very important area will be funding, right? So most entrepreneurs, they start out with bootstrapping, right? They gather their own personal resources, they take that risk, or they, beg and borrow from family and friends. They convince family and friends or known associates as initial investors, right? But you're going to have to get access to organized capital at some point. So understanding how to raise capital, sources of capital, what that pitch looks like, how to be able to make it, developing that network, all of that is going to start becoming important. You can get started with bootstrapping, but then to scale and grow, it's going to be very important to understand that area. So you cannot have a plan B. You have to fully and wholeheartedly commit to plan A. Now, let me paint an important distinction here, because that does not mean your plan A cannot have a part B. You can have a part B to your plan A, which is smart contingency planning. See, the best plans are those plans where you plan for the plan to not go according to plan, right? This is a little bit of a wordplay, but the best plans are those plans because it's not going to go exactly according to, what you have put down on a sheet of paper. You don't control how all of those events will take place. So you need to be able to adapt on the fly very quickly by the seat of your pants. So you can't have a plan B, but your plan A must have several, contingency planning mapped out. A plan B, a plan C, a plan D. There must be, okay, if this happens, what will I do? If this happens, what will I do? If this happens, what will I do? Right? So I think these are some of the things that a working professional, an employee should keep in mind and consider before, they make the commitment and take that leap into entrepreneurship. Don't let the excitement of becoming an entrepreneur overshadow the reality of who you are as an individual. Know yourself. Because again, not everybody will make a great entrepreneur, but a great entrepreneur can come from anywhere. And you have an opportunity to build yourself in a way where someday you can be a great entrepreneur. So these are things to keep in mind.
Very well put, as usual. You spoke about how running your own business, starting your own business is a very appealing prospect for a lot of people, but not everyone is cut out for it. So what are the right reasons for becoming an entrepreneur?
I think simply stated, passion for what you want to do. You have to come from a place of, you are really good at it and you really like to do it. It engages your heart and mind. Because with the ideas, and with entrepreneurship, you have to think it, eat it, sleep it, breathe it. It has to be all-consuming, right? And that is where, it then needs to be broken down into that business model, into what is your compelling value proposition. How will you capture profit for yourself? How will you align the processes and the personnel and the resources to be able to deliver that value proposition at that price satisfactorily to your consumers, your clients? But one of the things that you need to understand is that you cannot run away from a job and go become an entrepreneur. A lot of people who are dissatisfied with their job run away from that situation because they want to numb the pain of that situation. They don't want to be in that situation anymore. And they want to do something different. And because the premise behind entrepreneurship is so appealing, they take a jump into becoming an entrepreneur without recognizing the reality of the amount of development that has occurred in them. So in that situation, what is happening is you were in a job, you had a stable salary, right? Maybe you were facing some situations that were not fair. You were facing some office politics. You had an unreasonable boss. You felt that you were underpaid. Of course, there were some pain points that you were facing. And that was creating that dissatisfaction. But if you are not ready as an entrepreneur and you jump into entrepreneurship, what you have done is you have submitted to the grass being greener on the other side.
Yes.
You were not able to solve a smaller problem where the amount of risk that you had taken was much lower, and you've jumped into a problem that is far more demanding than the one that you were able to solve. So, don't take that leap because you're trying to run away from a situation. That is why making that distinction is very important. Does it truly come from a place of passion? And if it comes from a place of passion, don't hurry it up, right? End your responsibilities on a note of dignity, plan, get the money right, get the funding right, get the idea right. Slow is the fastest way to get to entrepreneurship. So, I see a lot of people who burn their hands because they were not satisfied with the way their life was, and they had not yet developed the skill to be an entrepreneur, and they jumped from a smaller problem that they were unable to solve because they kept feeling that the grass is greener on the other side into a bigger problem that demands far more from you. And they made their jump. They took the risk on their own resources, their own capital, their own savings, and they landed up losing all of that. And now they are in a much worse situation, right? Unfortunately, this happens very often. For every idea that is successful, there are thousands, if not lakhs, of people who fail. Okay, so it is very important to know that you're getting into entrepreneurship for the right reasons. There has to be a purpose that drives you. Okay, can't do it just for money. Money is an outcome of doing something well. And absolutely fine to have that outcome on your horizon, but it cannot be the primary motivating factor, right? So, see, right now, a lot of employees talk about stress, they talk about work-life balance, they talk about mental pressure, they talk about being overwhelmed, they talk about their morale getting affected because the way they are treated. I can clearly tell you, if these are the complaints you have, entrepreneurship is not for you. And I'm being a little dramatic about it because I really want this point to get through. All of these things are very solvable and very handleable. As an entrepreneur, you've taken a jump off of a cliff and you're going to go hit the ground, and you have to build your wings before you hit the ground, learn how to fly and soar. That is literally how entrepreneurship works. So if you don't have that ability to be able to, feel the fear and do it anyway, that you're about to crash and you're in the process of building your wings as you've taken that jump, if you don't know how to face stress and uncertainty and not lose your composure, not lose your cool, stay focused on the goal, because it's very, very easy to stay focused on your goal when life is being nice, right? When your relationships are fine, when there's peace at home, there's some food on the table, there's a roof over your head. It's very easy to put on a smile at that point and proceed forward. But the plan doesn't go according to plan. So there's going to be problems at home. There's going to be demands on your time that you are not able to see right now.
Yes.
Correct? In all of that, if you don't have the composure to manage all of this, if you're reactive, then entrepreneurship is not for you yet. Okay? As you develop further, absolutely, you will reach a point where all of the difficulties, the challenge, the failure that you have gone through, the embarrassments, the rejections, the burnt bridges, the pain, the tragedy, the losses, the hurt, everything that you have been through, all of this is making you stronger. And the personal development that is accumulating, at some point, so much of it will accumulate that the challenge of entrepreneurship is going to be very much within your scope to tackle, right? But that is also only going to happen if you know how to take all of that failure and become better, not become bitter. Because if you keep storing that at a personal level and hold all of those grudges, then you're accumulating poison inside you. You're going to become toxic. But if you know how to process it and question yourself, in what was that situation trying to teach me? Even if it was an unfair situation and you failed at it. See, don't fall for the fallacy that the world is a fair place. The world is an unfair place. Bad things can happen to good people. So it's very important to learn how to be able to process things where even though you were right, you were treated in an unfair manner. And when you develop that level of personal awareness where you have failed despite doing everything right, and you're still questioning yourself, how could I have done it differently? That is the time when you're ready to step into entrepreneurship. So these are some things that have to totally be who you are before you attempt entrepreneurship.
All right. So if there is a professional who's taken the leap and started their own business, what can they do to increase their chances of success as a business owner?
Well, if you've got these foundations and these basics right, then that is entry to the game of entrepreneurship. And as an entrepreneur, I can tell you it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. I say that those businesses that achieve profitability and stability in the first 1,000 days are lucky businesses. Now, India has a fantastic startup ecosystem, but at the same time, many of these companies are playing the game of evaluation. Okay? So there are so many unicorns. We count over 100 unicorns and we post it all over social media and all of that. How many of them are profitable? The burn rate is too high, and they're playing a game of evaluation where they want to be acquired by a bigger firm, a bigger company, a bigger firm, and cash out, right? I think that's a little bit of a tamasha. And all of that is going to crash at some point. Some of them will make it. I'm not trying to forecast or predict what will happen to them. But fundamentally, these are not for-profit businesses. These are for-profit businesses. And the evaluation game is not fully aligned with the profitability game. So this, has to be kept in mind. You're doing a business to create a profit, right? That premise must be in place. First, know that you can run something small and simple, like a tea shop. The corner tea shop, run it successfully. Take the best recipe in your household, okay, and market that and grow that successfully. There are 3 things that I would say you must put in place. 1, it must produce profit. 2, everyone that you're dealing with should be happy with you. Okay, so that will go back to how you treat people, right? And 3, it must have the potential to scale. If these 3 things are in place, then you have designed the environment, you have designed your effort in a manner where the outcome of success is far more likely. See, 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs fail. But if you take that journey slowly and you take that journey with calculated risk, with a smart mindset that is paying attention to some of the things that we have talked about, then you can change those numbers drastically. So instead of 9 out of 10 failing, you may be able to bring it to 7 out of 10 failing and 3 succeeding, and in time 4 succeeding, and then 5 succeeding, and then turning the balance in favor of entrepreneurs. So I think these are, you have to pay attention to this, because at the end of the day, most employees that will start off because it's going to replace their salary. It's going to replace their primary, source of income. Recently, there was a company, and it was in the news, Physics Wala. This young man went on to do some wonderful things. They are profitable. And that's what I loved about that whole business model. It came from a tremendous place of passion. And, how he's built that business has just been a very inspirational case study to look at. But then there are so many businesses, especially, as the internet boom happened and as e-commerce took over, there are so many of these businesses that are not profitable. They've created the reach, they've created the customers, they've captured the data, but they are fundamentally not profitable business models. So, those are the stories that I really resonate with.
All right. So no matter how ready you are, no matter how much funding you have, resources you have, there's still a lot of fear while taking the plunge and starting a business. So what do you think someone can do to overcome the fear?
I had a student and, he had some terrific ideas. This guy was a little bit of a mad scientist. He would think about things that he would notice in everyday life, and he would start thinking about, how can I solve this problem? He was really good at it. So, he was talking to me about these things. He lives in a coastal part of the country where he goes swimming in the ocean. And one of the problems that, these are little fishing villages and communities. And one of the problems that people face there is when there is bad weather and you're out at sea, there are big swells, and, it's a dangerous time to be out, and weather is unpredictable. So these things can happen, and fishermen who have gone out can get caught in such a situation. So he made a drowning detection goggles that you can wear that protect you from the burn of the seawater, because seawater is, salty. So just to protect your eyes. And he also put a little GPS chip in there, which sends a homing signal if that is underwater for more than 30 seconds or 20 seconds. I think it was programmable. You can decide how much time that has to be submerged. And he started offering it for a very low cost, right? Because it was something that he was doing more out of a sense of nobility than he was doing out of a sense of a business. And then similarly, he made these pressure sensitive mats for metro trains in the time of COVID, so that the operator of the train knows that social distancing is being maintained in all of the cabins of the train, right? Then he created a swimming pool automation system where they are able to set the timing for how the filtration works, how chlorine is released, how the pool will clean itself. And then, he's also working on these air braking systems for heavy transportation, like metro systems and all of that. And he made a little, another thing that he did was he made a little device that has a conveyor belt and a motor, and it collects all of the water weeds that grow in the backwaters, the water hyacinth and the lotus and all of that grows in the backwaters, which clogs up all of the canals and the irrigation systems in such an environment, and it causes loss of soil erosion, it causes damage to aquatic and marine life. And he took that to the local municipal government, and they loved it, what they saw. But he had all of these fantastic ideas, but he was very afraid of entrepreneurship. He was very afraid of, saying, what if I quit my job and I take the risk and I do this and it doesn't work out? Okay, very realistic young man. And when he was playing with that idea, we were working on a concept called Ikigai. So Ikigai, as you may know, is a Japanese concept where, there are 4 questions. What do you love to do? What are you good at? What does the world need? And how can you monetize it? And the challenge with this concept is you have to come up with one answer that satisfies all 4 questions. So it takes a little bit of soul searching. And as he went through this exercise, he came to understand that, his Ikigai is, creating a ideas blueprint, a product blueprint, okay, a solution blueprint, an incubator, if you will. Because he didn't want to take the risk of taking these things to market, but he could get it to a formidable stage where there is a working demo of the product, and then he could sell that idea to a company and become a consultant to them, a paid consultant, maybe on a retainer, where he helps the company and the company takes on the risk of taking it to market. Okay. So he was getting paid a salary from his job. He was making money for selling his idea. And then he was also getting a retainer from these companies as they took his idea and funded it to take it to the market.
All right.
So he would not get a cut of the profits, but he would get a standard retainer. And that's the model he wanted. He could have well negotiated a cut in the profits as well, because that's not something that he wanted to be involved with. So, that is the clarity that comes from doing this kind of work, of understanding, what is the reason you get out of bed each day, right? And as he develops and strengthens his personality, his risk-taking appetite further, I'm sure he's getting closer and closer to someday where he takes the idea and he's the one who's taking it to market. So one can completely understand, that fear. Fear comes from tackling the unknown, right? So in this case, this was an area that was an unknown, and that is what was the source of what he has to lose in the process that was creating fear. But as you experience this pattern, as you take small risk and then bigger risk and then bigger risk, your confidence grows, right? And it can well be that, you take 2 steps forward and then you take 1 back. And sometimes you take 1 step forward and then you have to take 2 back. Because we don't lose when we fall down. We lose when we refuse to get back up, right? So the child who is scared of going to the deep end of the pool, you don't take someone and throw them into the deep end of the pool. You start them out in the shallow end. And even then with a tube and armbands and a coach right there and holding their hand, and slowly you take them, to that deeper end of the pool. And someday they are doing laps like they were born for water. So, preparation and contingency planning are things that will give you a lot more comfort as you take on this risk. And I think that's the best way to manage your fear. But fundamentally, know that you're engaging in a space that is going to cause this fear. So starting out, your ability to handle fear has to be there. Feel the fear, process it, but you have to do it anyway. You don't want to live with regret afterwards, right? That is much harder to do. So.
All right, very interesting. You often talk about employapreneurs. Can you elaborate?
So I coined this term almost 20 years ago, employapreneurs. It is an entrepreneur for hire. That could be one definition. Another definition could be somebody who thinks like an entrepreneur but works in a salaried capacity. They want to make money like a business owner, but they don't want to take the risk and the hassle and the stress and the tension and the pressure of what a business owner goes through. Okay. Frankly speaking, a lot of people who embrace this term employapreneur are people who have great ideas, but they don't have the money to invest in those ideas. Okay. So you behave as an entrepreneur while you're an employee. Okay. And this is the rarest of the rare, because now I'll give you a comparison. I'll give you an analogy. Children are easy to love, right? When you see a child, it's not very different to express love for a child, right? They are innocent, they are playful, they're wonderful people. But can you love someone else's child the way you love your own? Right? So that's hard to do. It's not difficult to love children, but you love your own kid because there is a biological bond there. There's an emotional depth there, right? So an employapreneur has that ability to love someone else's child like they love their own child. They have that ability to love someone else's company, someone else's idea, like it were their own. They feel that same amount of pain if that idea was not to do well, right? That is why they are the rarest of the rare breed. They're even more rare than entrepreneurs, right? But you have to have that sense of allegiance and dedication and hard work and passion if you want to make money as a business owner without taking the risk. So that is what I built my career on, the term employapreneur. And I can tell you that they are very difficult to find. And that is what every entrepreneur is looking for. Because it's a beautiful win-win. You land up making a lot of money as an individual who has not taken the risk, and the employer finds an employee who gives them that level of dedication and hard work and qualified thinking, where they don't have to be involved in every small nook and cranny to that degree, which becomes a headache because entrepreneurs are always short of time. Every great entrepreneur is looking for an employapreneur. So, a lot of people in the job market who are looking for jobs, if they can build themselves into an employapreneur, if they can work on their subject matter expertise, their interpersonal skills, then they will never have a problem with getting opportunities. They will never have a financial issue. Money will flow like you cannot believe. So that's something that I evangelize quite a bit because I think that's a very low risk way to gain very big benefits, in your career and your financial life.
All right. This has been a very interesting and insightful episode. Thank you so much.
Oh, sure.
See you in the next one.
All right.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Career Headquarters, the most comprehensive career podcast dedicated to building exceptional careers. If you enjoyed this conversation, please share this with someone you think would benefit from the ideas and the insights shared on this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple, Google, Overcast, Castro, or Breaker. If you want to learn more about building an extraordinary career for yourself, I invite you to come attend my free Power Up Your Career live workshop. In this workshop, I will teach you the step-by-step process of landing your dream job in less than 90 days. The link to register is in the description below, and I will see you live at the workshop.